Hi everybody, thank you and welcome to the Montgomery Museum of Art Summer Camp. We're so glad you're here to do another art lesson with us. We're going to do a cut paper collage today, which is so fun because it can turn out to be anything. And sometimes you don't even know what it's going to turn out as when you get started. So first let's look at an artwork in the museum's collection. This is Charles Sheeler's work, and it's called Composition Around Red. So this is a painting. We're going to do a cut paper collage, so ours will be a little bit different, but he used so many of the same ideas that you use in collage. So this artwork, he's called it Composition Around Red. So we know that he was thinking about red when he decided how everything would fit here. And you see that there's a big section of red here, and of course pink is in the red family. There's kind of a pink shape here, more red here, but this is a darker red. So we have a hint of red, a tint of it here. We have a shade of red, because shade is a color mixed with black. So this would be red and a little bit of black mixed together. A tint is red and a little bit of white mixed together, and so that's what we have here. So he's kind of made his composition. So a composition is the way that you organize something on a page, okay? So he's filled up his page and he's thinking about the whole page and how he assembles the pieces together to be in a composition. So we can also see other repeated colors and repeated shapes through the whole artwork. There's lots of lines. You can call these lines. They're very skinny rectangles, and there's lots of them all the way across the page. But we also have dark rectangles throughout the picture. We have angular shapes, so they're in angles here and here and here. And he's stacked all of these shapes on top of each other. And in this picture, this composition, those shapes have been organized to kind of make us think of something. What do you see? To me, it kind of looks like a barn. It reminds me of a farm. And if you look really hard, this looks kind of like a car. Definitely we see windows. And so, but that's not really what his picture is about. His picture is more about the way those shapes are arranged and act with each other. And so we're gonna do a cut paper collage, and we'll be thinking the same kind of things that Mr. Sheeler used when he was planning his artwork. And some of that planning is gonna come just as you work. So the things that you'll need out of your art kit, you might need, it's always good to have a pencil and an eraser on hand. So if you have those next to you, that's a good thing. You're gonna need your colors of construction paper to choose from. Then you'll also have a white piece of tag board that we're gonna start with. You'll have a bag that has lots of different collage items in them. And then you'll also have a bag that has pieces of tissue paper and other cut pieces. All right, so the first step is to think about the background. If we look at the painting that we were looking at before, you can see that the background does kind of fade. It's not the center focus, but there's a lot of the same colors of the background repeated throughout the whole composition. So this is a gray here, and we kind of see some of that gray over here. We've got gray here, and we've got more gray here. So it goes all the way through. That's what unifies a composition, is having things in multiple places on the canvas. So we're going to also organize our background to work all the way through the page. So look at the colors that you've got. This is the time to do a little bit of exploration. See what's in your bag, pick through, and find things that are interesting to you. On my picture, when I made this collage, I found a lunchbox that had a lot of fruits and vegetables and nuts in it, and that just seemed really fun to me. The colors were very bright, and so I decided to make my artwork based around the idea of summertime and a picnic. And so the shapes that I used and the colors that I used were things that reminded me of summertime. So I picked bright colors because in summertime you have really bright hot sun, you have really green grass, lots of bright big flowers, you have bright colors at the swimming pool, bright colors in fruits and vegetables. So that's the colors that I was using in my composition. So when I started with that idea, I started looking for those kinds of colors in my collage pile and in my cut paper pile. So the first step, with your tag board, pick out maybe just one construction color that you think goes with your theme. Now your theme doesn't have to be, you see Mr. Schuler's composition here made us think about a farmhouse. You could make it something that's gonna go together. It could look like a house, or it could look like another building. It could look like a train or an airplane or a car. It could look like an animal. Any of those things would be fine. Like to assemble those pieces together to make those pieces into something that you could recognize. But you could also look at just something that inspires you in your pile and then put those pieces together in a composition that goes together, that organizes using color and shape. All right, so choose a background color. And you're gonna lay that color on top of your tag board. So choose the color that you want to use, and then think about your background. You want this color to extend throughout the plane, and you also want other colors that are going to be carried through your composition. So I chose some colors that, I used some scrap pieces that went across the page that I could glue on top of each other. So maybe they went halfway, but another piece that was just like it, I could offset and overlap to make those pieces go all the way across the page. So step one is to figure out about your background. At this point, it's probably a good idea, after you've decided how you want your background to go ahead and glue those pieces for your background down to your page. So remember where they go. You don't have to, when you glue it, doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be exactly like you laid it out to begin with. But if you want to make marks to show you where you want those lines to go, use your pencil and make a light little mark to show you where you want to line up your items. Remove those items and use your glue stick or glue on a plate. I like to put a little bit of pour out when I'm doing a collage. I like to pour out a little bit of glue and have a paintbrush that, you know, is not a special one. I'll use a special paintbrush to also use it. But use your glue stick at this point to cover up, go all the way around the edges so that your background color can go to the tag board. Now this part's a little tricky because you want it to line up the best that it can. So line up your pieces so that your construction paper will cover up your tag board. The tag board really is just to make it stronger in the end and to give you a surface to glue to. And then after you've done that, go through and glue your background colors across your page. And it's a good idea to let things overlap, to let some edges show. That kind of helps the person that looks at your artwork to realize that you've made a collage. The beauty of collage is just the things that get stuck together to make your whole composition. And so that is what you want to emphasize as you're working, is the assembly of things going on top of each other. All right, so the next step would be figuring out where all of your pieces go on top of these. Now, like I said before, my piece that I'm working with was my lunchbox piece, and it when I cut it, it had a sharp edge, and so I put that sharp, I figured out where I wanted that to go on top of my background page. And then the next steps are to layer. And you just layer pieces on top. And as you layer, think about composition. Just like this artwork that we looked at before in composition in red carries the same shapes through the entire piece. And just like it carries similar colors throughout the piece, that's how you organize composition. So as you're thinking about assembly, think about, if you put something on one side of the page, add something that's a similar color on the other side of the page. Or add in multiple pieces. Look in what you have in your kit to find really neat colors and shapes. You can cut any kind of shapes that you want to do. I really like to make rectangles and squares. They're easy to cut out and they stack beautifully, but you can choose any colors as you go. As you work, flip over your page and cut little edges off so that you'll have a clean edge on the back side too. And layer pieces on top. Now, after you have layered several layers, several stacks of pieces together, you'll need to decide if your piece is finished or if you need to continue putting in more pieces. And as you work, you'll need to start sticking things down. But you don't want to glue too early, because if you glue pieces too early, then you've kind of narrowed your options. But at some point, you need to put those pieces down so that you can work forward. So when you're to a point where you're ready to glue some pieces because you're happy with where they are, start with the bottom piece. Again, you can use your pencil and make some marks to show yourself where your pieces will go. But you don't have to spend lots of time tracing all of your shapes, although that will help you remember where you put it if you were really happy with where it was. So just remove the top pieces, get down to the piece that's not layered yet, and go ahead and glue that piece using your glue stick. Remember, if it goes off the page a little bit, that's okay, because you can always, when you're done, or at any stage, stop and flip your page over and cut off the little piece that sticks over the edge. Let things go off the edge. That's always, it makes an interesting composition too. So keep layering your pieces. Layer the pieces where you're happy. Let your lines extend all the way across your page. Fill up your page. And then at the very end, after you've put all of your pieces together, look at your composition. Is it unified? Does it go together? Can you add more things to help it have relationships throughout the entire canvas? Should you add in some more color? Are there places where there's too much negative space and it's too empty? Or are those negative spaces really helping the whole composition so that it gives your eye a place to rest? Think about those things as you're working through your entire piece. Don't be worried about how things, if you glued it just perfect, or if some pieces didn't end up as you expected at the very beginning. Some of the beautiful things about collage is that you're stacking up and learning things as you go and finding a new way to do something. So your picture may look completely different from an example here, and that is okay. That's one of the fun things about this, is that it's an exciting adventure in art. So thanks for working on this art project with me today. I'm glad you've been here, and we'll see you next time.